America, the land of opportunity. For whom and according to what? The richest country in human history, the most powerful military on earth. And yet, in 2026, being born American might be the most complicated lottery ticket you ever scratch. Because the country that sold the world a dream is struggling to deliver it to its own people. The housing market is broken. The debt trap is real. The healthcare system costs more and delivers less. AI is eliminating careers overnight. And the political system is too paralyzed to fix any of it. This is not a story about America's power. This is a story about its price. The average American home now costs over $400,000. Wow, that's a lot. Mortgage rates are sitting near historic highs. And the generation that was told to work hard, save money, and buy a house cannot afford the down payment. Gen Z home ownership rates are the lowest of any generation in modern American history. Lower than millennials, lower than Gen X, lower than the boomers who bought houses on a single income in the 1970s. And the gap is not closing. It is widening every single year, and the conversation around it is always the same. Stop buying coffee. Stop eating out. Stop spending on things you don't need. As if a $6 latte is the reason a house costs $400,000. As if the problem is personal discipline, not a system that has been stacking the deck against young buyers for decades. The advice has not changed. The prices have. Here is what nobody says out loud. Rising home values are not a problem for everyone. For the people who already own homes, rising values mean rising wealth, rising equity, a retirement plan that pays itself. The system rewards those already inside it and systematically punishes everyone still trying to get through the door. The rental market offers no escape. Average rent in a major American city sits at $2,000 a month minimum. That is $24,000 a year. Gone. Building no equity. Owning nothing at the end of 12 months. Just paying someone else's mortgage every single month while being told that the problem is your spending habits. And the political solutions? Tax credits that never move prices. Zoning reform debates that drag on for decades. Supply-side arguments that never reach the people who actually need housing. Meanwhile, the existing homeowners, who also vote in the highest numbers of any demographic, have every financial incentive to keep prices exactly where they are. Their wealth depends on it. The American dream always had a first step. Own a home. Build equity. Pass it down to your children. Create generational wealth one roof at a time. In 2026, that first step is a wall, and the people selling ladders are the same ones who built the wall in the first place. Are you a homeowner? $1.7 trillion. That is the total student loan debt sitting on American shoulders right now. Not the national debt, not corporate debt. The personal debt of millions of people who did exactly what they were told. Go to college. Get a degree. Build a future. The system handed them a bill they will spend the next 20 years paying off. The average college graduate enters the workforce owing $37,000 before their first paycheck, before their first rent payment, before a single adult decision they made with full information. The debt was signed at 18, when most people cannot legally drink, rent a car, or run for city council. And the degree itself, no longer a guarantee. The job market has changed faster than any curriculum could follow. Automation is accelerating. Entire industries that a college degree used to unlock are closing those doors faster than any generation expected. So the pipeline looks like this. You borrow money to buy an education. You use that education to compete for a job. The job pays you enough to survive, but not enough to pay off the debt quickly. The interest compounds. The balance barely moves. And 20 years later, you are still paying for a decision you made as a teenager who had no real understanding of what they were agreeing to. The universities raised tuition every year because the loans were always approved. The banks collected interest because the loans could not be discharged in bankruptcy. The government designed a system where student debt is the one debt you truly cannot escape. Not through bankruptcy, not through hardship. The debt follows you, and at the end of it, a diploma, a debt, and a lifetime subscription to a system you never fully chose to join. Which university did you graduate from? The United States spends more on healthcare per person than any country on earth. More than Canada, more than Germany, more than Japan. More than every single nation that offers its citizens universal coverage. And yet, 25 million Americans have no health insurance at all. A single ambulance ride costs $3,000. An emergency room visit for a broken arm, $7,000. A cancer diagnosis before treatment even begins can trigger a bankruptcy filing. Medical debt is the #1 cause of personal bankruptcy in America. Not gambling, not failed businesses, not bad investments. Getting sick. Americans pay more and statistically live shorter, less healthy lives than citizens of countries that spend half as much per person. The outcomes do not match the investment, unless you understand who the investment is actually for. The health insurance industry generates $1.5 trillion in annual revenue. The pharmaceutical industry sets its own prices because the lobbying system allows it. Insulin, a drug invented over 100 years ago, cheap to produce, essential to survival for millions of diabetics, costs an American patient 10 times what it costs a Canadian patient. Same molecule, different border, different survival odds. The hospital networks are increasingly owned by private equity firms whose primary obligation is return on investment, not patient outcomes. Smaller hospitals close in rural areas because they are not profitable enough. The communities they served lose their only emergency room. People drive 2 hours for care that used to be 20 minutes away. The system is not broken. For the insurance companies, for the hospital networks, for the pharmaceutical lobby, it is functioning exactly as designed. The patient is not the customer. The patient is the product. And in 2026, the most medically advanced nation in human history still asks its citizens one question before treatment begins. Not what hurts, not how serious is it. The first question is always, do you have insurance? Are you American? The factory jobs left in the 1990s. The manufacturing towns hollowed out and never recovered. The call center jobs left in the 2000s, outsourced overseas, while politicians promised retraining programs that never fully materialized. The gig economy absorbed some of the overflow, but with no benefits, no stability, no safety net. And then, in 2026, the office jobs started leaving too. Artificial intelligence is not a future threat. It is a present reality. Accounting, legal research, medical imaging analysis, journalism, coding, customer service, financial modeling, entire white-collar industries reshaped in less than 5 years. The workers who went to college specifically to escape manual labor are now watching their careers automated away by software that never calls in sick and never asks for a raise. The cruelest part is the timing. These workers did everything right. They followed the advice. They got the degrees. They built the careers. And then the landscape shifted beneath them, not gradually, but overnight. Not with warning, but with a product launch. The retraining programs exist in theory. In practice, underfunded, understaffed, and designed for a pace of economic change that ended a decade ago. Community college courses in skills that will themselves be automated within 5 years. Government programs that move at the speed of legislation while the technology moves at the speed of a software update. And the companies building these tools? They are not losing jobs. They are printing money. Every lawyer replaced by AI is a monthly subscription fee. Every accountant displaced is a software license renewed annually. The disruption is not a side effect of progress. For the technology industry, it is the entire business model. You were handed a diploma, a debt, and a promise that the future was yours if you worked for it. In 2026, the future arrived ahead of schedule. and it did not come with a job offer. Is there anyone unemployed near you? The United States leads the developed world in gun violence. It is not a close comparison. The gap between America and the next country on the list is not a margin. It is a canyon that no honest person can look at without asking serious questions. Over 40,000 Americans die from gun-related incidents every year. That is more than car accidents in many years. More than the entire population of dozens of American towns erased every 12 months. Mass shootings, domestic violence, suicide, street violence. The causes are varied. The result is the same number on the same graph climbing in the same direction every year. School shootings have become so normalized that the national news cycle moves on within 48 hours. Children in American schools practice active shooter drills the same way they practice fire drills. Regularly, routinely, without drama, because it has simply become part of the school experience. A generation of kids has grown up knowing that the classroom is not guaranteed to be safe. The library is not guaranteed. The grocery store, the concert venue, the movie theatre, none of it carries the guarantee that citizens of other wealthy nations take entirely for granted. The political response has been consistent across decades. Paralysis. The gun lobby spends hundreds of millions of dollars annually to ensure that meaningful legislation never reaches a floor vote. The arguments cycle endlessly: constitutional rights, mental health, cultural issues, enforcement gaps. While the body count accumulates and the proposals stall, every other wealthy democratic nation on Earth faced similar questions at some point in their history. They looked at the data and made a different choice. Australia acted after one mass shooting. The United Kingdom acted. New Zealand acted. America looked at the same category of evidence repeatedly and maintained the status quo. Being born in America in 2026 means being born into the only wealthy nation where this is still the answer. Have you heard of any school shootings?
So after the housing crisis, the debt trap, the collapsed healthcare system, the transformation brought about by artificial intelligence and armed violence, who is the real winner of being born an American citizen? The richest 1% is reaping the rewards. Wealth inequality in America has reached its highest level since the Gilded Age. The richest 1% holds more wealth than the combined wealth of the poorest 90%. The defense industry is booming. $800 billion military budget, 800 bases worldwide. War is America's most profitable export. The health insurance industry is thriving. Its annual revenue is $1.5 trillion. It is built on the illness of the people it insures. The tech giants won. The AI revolution didn't affect them. They built it, they profit from it, and they won't be the ones training for new careers. What about the average American? They're still working, they're still believing, they're still paying into a system that was never fully designed with them in mind. America is not a failed country, it is the world's most powerful, most innovative, and most culturally influential country. However, being born in 2026 means being American. It means inheriting both the greatest opportunity and the greatest contradiction of modern history. The dream came true. However, the price was not written in the brochure. What do you think about this? Write your comments and subscribe to the channel.